how we broadcasting.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yep, just go to my page.
Go to your page.
Yeah, it should be on.
I'm waiting on it to say Charmaine's having a watch party.
Okay, we good. It's on. All right, cool. All right, well, good evening, everyone. We apologize for being tardy to the party because yes, we're gonna have fun tonight. But no, seriously, we got a full house tonight. Normally, I'll just have like myself and two guests so we can do the whole challenge debate thing. But tonight I actually have four, so this is gonna be cool. So thanks everyone for joining me. Let me just make sure the comment feed is open. So you're welcome to make comments, ask questions, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to ask. Or someone's here already. Hey Denise, she's saying that everything looks good, we sound good. All right, good. Thanks for giving us the thumbs up. Please share this video, invite all of your friends to watch. And on that note, we're just going to get started. I'm just going to go ahead and introduce my guests. I have with me Tasha up here in the Tasha, wave your hand up there in the top right. We got Artesia McNeal down here, and we also have Jamal Bailey. So Tasha, just go ahead and give everyone a brief introduction of yourself.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tasha. I'm a registered nurse of 17 years. That's how I met Nurse Charms on social media. I'm also a nano influencer. I am a women empowerment and self-esteem coach, and I call myself the Level Up Goddess. And that's my Instagram, Level Up Goddess.
All right. Artesia?
Yes.
We can't hear Artesia.
Can you hear me now?
What happened? Oh, go ahead.
Hi,
yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, Artesia McNeal, Washington.
Go ahead.
I'm actually at work at Irvine Neuro Rehab in Southfield, where I'm the president. I've known Charms for a very long time, so it's great to be here.
I know. Yeah, awesome. And Jamal, the only male. Let's see if you can hold three ladies down tonight in a political debate. What's up? Thanks for joining us tonight. Go ahead and give yourself a little introduction. Give everyone a little introduction about yourself.
My name is Jamal Bailey. I'm just somebody that me and Charmaine have a lot of political discussions on the internet. So, I'm a Detroit native. She asked me if I wanted to join and talk some politics. So here I am, looking to have some good, intelligent conversation.
All right, awesome. So let's just get right into this. Joe Biden, he was in Detroit today, doing his campaign things. That basement, they've been riding them stuff. So point out, I don't know if you all had a chance to listen to his speech today, but he did speak the economy and hit for the economy, right? And so it was interesting because he actually attacked Trump for offshoring jobs, which is false. So I don't know why Biden would have just told that bold-faced lie. I mean, that was literally one of the things that Trump campaigned on, trying to keep jobs in the USA, made in the USA, get more manufacturing companies. So everybody knows, and he's actually delivered those promises. So, I don't know, what are people gonna think? I mean, I know it's a campaign season, I know people, attack each other and stuff like that, but I mean, go there and basically he was campaigning himself on what Trump has already did. You see what I'm saying? He says, well, I'm gonna make all jobs stay in. Okay, well, Trump's already doing that, and he's actually attacking Trump for saying that Trump isn't doing that. So that's just one of the, just always attacking economy. And actually, I saw an interview today with Larry Kudlow. He's the one who prints out all the money, big time economist in the White House. So he was talking about how in just 4 months, after this pandemic, how we're in a V-shaped recovery. The unemployment rate is down to 8.4%. There's 10.6 new PABs that have been 14 million new household jobs. So with all these statistics, economy is very important. You want to vote based on someone's policies and what they're going to do, to help move the economy forward, and, taxes and all of those things. So let's just go ahead and just get into this discussion right now, about the economy going to be for, Trump to continue to recover through this pandemic, and how important is he going to be for, Biden to announce a plan that's going to, do something different than what Trump is already doing. He can't take credit for what Trump is already doing and attack him and say he's not doing it. So what should Biden be doing? What should Trump be doing? This show is to help with voter education. So you want to put as much knowledge out there as possible. So whoever wants to take the floor, just go for it. And, we just kind of debate it out. Don't everybody speak at once.
Well, I'll speak then. So Trump has had some good policies. I'm not going to deny he has had some good policies. And some of the policies has been a setback. Like how not just the coronavirus handling, but the importation of goods to allow governors to fight the coronavirus for the state. When those China tariffs hit and governors were importing face masks and PPE from, China, those tariffs really hurt governors importing, not to mention the seizing of some of the things that the governors have procured. But that's my major issue with the handling of coronavirus. All the other stuff, we all could have watched the news. But that was my major issue. So a lot of the policies, I believe that he had good intentions with like the China trade deals and things, but it kind of backfired when Corona hit and you couldn't get PPE because of the policies that he instituted prior to Corona. So that's my big policy issue.
But he was able to turn around a whole plant. Like here in Michigan, what was it in Flint? I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the plants he turned around and they started producing PPE. They produced ventilators. One of the auto industry, they did ventilators and they did, the face mask. And that created jobs, that kept the product here. And we didn't have to rely on China, because we couldn't get anything from China. They was keeping all their product over there. 3M is the major company that produces, the N95 mask. So, we couldn't get any product from them anyways. But
I make it different because I had
someone else jump in.
I personally had orders in. So, but the Defense Production Act was something that was instituted since World War II. So the Cadillac plant down by the Packard plant used to turn around and made tanks, for World War II. So that's something that was already there. All he had to do was, well, that's my only issue, but somebody else.
Yeah, in terms of the economy, what I think people need to realize is when you're looking at economic growth, you have to realize that under Democratic or liberal or more progressive policy, with a lot of companies being offshore, that resulted in trillions of dollars sitting outside of the United States. And so with the Tax Cuts and Job Act, Trump cut the corporate tax rates so that they can repatriate back over here and produce over here and create more jobs over here. And that created a lot of growth and that produced a lot of employment. And I believe the other day he was talking about the additional jobs since over the past few months, even before COVID hit, he had talked about the job losses and then the reemployment with some of the states opening back up. But when you bring you bring trillions of dollars back to the US, that's money that can circulate in the US and help grow the economy. And so that's something that people don't realize. And in terms of like the states, COVID has exposed the states' irresponsibility when it comes to making sure that they have PPE and ventilators. That's not the president's job. He used emergency presidential powers to do something that the states should have done way before the pandemic. You understand? So, you have a lot of states who were out of PPE. So as a taxpayer to your state governors and your local officials, you're to hold them accountable for not having stockpiles. That's not the federal government's job. The federal government gives money to the states with healthcare costs and other costs and say, we're giving you this money and you're supposed to be using it appropriately. So COVID has really exposed that many people didn't have PPE, and you should be questioning your governor why you don't have enough PPE for the state with the federal dollars that you receive. So that's my take on it.
You're absolutely right, because the stockpile was empty. I mean, I know that the Democrats, like, we'll never know the truth, right? We weren't there in the White House. We really don't know. Nobody in us, the truth, but Obama left him bare cupboards. The Democrats, that's true, but it's basically confidential information that they can't let us know what was in there specifically. So like all of us Americans, we won't really know. It's like this back and forth, pointing the finger to. But Tasha, you're absolutely right. There's the government have the backup, but the states, they should have what they need. And you're right, it did expose a lot of deficiencies. Jamal, we got to get some words out of you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I didn't want to just jump in. I was waiting for you to say me, but I think that I don't disagree. I think that Trump's handling of the whole COVID, unemployment, PPE, I think it wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. Like people are trying to absolutely nail him to the cross for COVID, and really that's almost one of the only things that the Democrats can get him on. I'm not personally a Trump fan, but I will say that for years and years, I've been thinking that we've got a problem with, as he says, keeping America first. We don't even make simple things here. We don't even make PPE here. Like how can we not make masks and stuff here? So that was something that should have been an easy layup, and we should have had that done. But I will also say something that I don't think you guys thought about or maybe touched on was the fact that this just wasn't about needing PPE stockpile. Like, you got to think about how much PPE we needed. Like, every time you use a mask, you're supposed to discard it. We had hospitals where people were keeping masks and taking masks home and putting their name on masks. So this was something that was never seen before, and they needed way more PPE than they would have even thought. Nobody would have thought that it would become a time where people would need 100 masks in a week for each employee. Like, so on the fence on that one.
Good points. And so when we talk about Trump's record, and
right, so
COVID, we have to compare it to the last pandemic, which was H1N1 under Obama. And a lot of people kind of forgot that. And what I need people to understand is when we're talking about Trump and how he handles this, we have a comparison point, because back in 2009-ish, we had a pandemic. We had the H1N1 flu, and that was a pandemic. But Obama didn't declare that pandemic until 6 months later. Okay, so make sure when we're talking about Trump and how he handled this, that we're comparing it side by side with how how he handled the pandemic of the H1N1. How long did it take them to declare the pandemic? Did he institute the same measures? So because I always hear us talk about he didn't do the best job, he didn't do the worst job, which is good. I'm glad that's the best response I've gotten, is where he didn't do the best, he didn't do the worst. But most people, especially to the left, they'll say, well, he handled this improperly. But you're not looking at how Obama handled H1N1. We didn't wear masks. There was no lockdown, and that was a pandemic, and millions of people were infected, and a lot of people died globally as a result of that. So make sure you're comparing it to H1N1 back in 2008, 2009.
I thought that. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I get what you're saying, but I think that's almost kind of. I get what you're saying, but I think that's almost kind of comparing apples and oranges, because you can't really compare two different diseases.
Yeah, you can.
Hold on, let you talk. I'll let you talk, sweetheart. You gonna let me say what I'm trying to say before I get my trying to have a conversation. We don't gotta. Okay, like I was saying, you can't really compare two pandemics. It's different. Stuff spreads differently. It's just there's no way to say that how Obama handled something, and I'm not an Obama fan, but we just gotta call truth. This didn't spread like in one like that pandemic. So this was a little different.
That's false. They're both respiratory flu strains. They were viruses. Yeah, they were both viruses. So you can compare them. How they transmitted is the same. How they're infected people was basically the same. The population was different. With this one, it was children, but it was a viral infection that spread respiratory-wise, like a flu strain, and corona is a flu strain. So you can compare them like apple to apple.
So was that one airborne, or was that one 6 feet
virus
apart? It's different
Yeah.
virus that spread different ways. I mean,
no, but the way a virus is transmitted is the same.
Okay. I mean, that's my take on it.
Okay.
You're a nurse, not me, but that's my take on it. I think that's comparing apples and oranges. So that doesn't change my opinion on that.
Okay, so here we go. Somebody wants to add some data into discussion. Hold on. I'm not showing it here. Okay, so here's the thing, because a lot of the media, you hear them talking about this deaths that we're up to. Everybody is saying that, and there was this conversation that leaked and with Woodward. And that Trump had with Woodward, and he was saying that the virus was airborne. And so, a lot of people are upset, saying that Trump knew that the virus was airborne and didn't do anything, didn't act soon enough. And now 190,000 people in the US have died, and it's all Trump's fault. So I'm going to get into that discussion too, because, and another thing that we should point out is that, people are attacking Trump, but during that time, the Democrats were all focused on impeachment, right? And Trump was locking down, the borders, locking down China or whatever. He was listening to Dr. Fauci, who was telling him, basically everything to do. People need to get tested. Well, this was before they even had the testing. Basically, just quarantine if you have these symptoms, what to look for, because we didn't have the testing yet. But then when we got the testing, they were trying to make that available just for those who were immunocompromised. But anyway, long story short is that people are telling this story like Trump didn't do anything. He mismanaged the disease. He's the reason why all these people are dead. Is that really true? I mean, even now, that 190 number is climbing now. So all these people, every last person, each day, are we saying that Trump is responsible for that? Yesterday, I was in the store. This older lady, she had to be like 85 or older. She comes in the store like this, no mask. Her hand was her mask. I'm like, you are the main one that should be worried about getting coronavirus, right. But yet you come here like this with this your mask. So if she dies, is Trump responsible for her death? You know what I'm saying? Like how does that work? All these people, they want to blame Trump for, you know, the deaths. How much of it is his fault? How much of it is personal responsibility? And I mean, like, how we going to safely move forward with, you know, getting people to be compliant, and so we can help, you know, control this virus, and hopefully it can end, you know, with vaccine. So anyone want to jump in on that topic?
I just feel like when Fauci and the Surgeon General started talking about wearing masks, that Trump should have jumped on the mask. And he didn't outright protest the mask, but he didn't wear one. And he didn't support the statements of wearing a mask. And I get it if he doesn't feel like he wants to wear a mask, but that doesn't stop people who follow him with lesser understanding and lesser knowledge base regarding the virus and how they interpreted his actions cause things to get out of control and forward. And people are talking about their rights. You have a right to not wear a mask is all they're saying, but that doesn't mean you have the right to infect me and kill me. And now, you know, the flip is turned into, you know, the not wearing masks has prolonged, and now it's damaging the economy because the United States should have got a hold on this situation a long time ago. And so, you know, I'm not saying that he killed somebody, but I think it's socially irresponsible to not jump on wearing a mask. I mean, if you look at the research says that medical professionals are the ones that have not, that like 80% of medical professionals do not have antibodies because the medical professionals jumped on wearing a mask immediately and sanitized. So if the medical professionals, if 80% don't have antibodies, never had coronavirus, but the average American walking around, you know, they're not getting tested like that. So, and then the tests were not as available as people initially said so. And then when they did become available, you couldn't get results for 7 days. So by that time, you're not infected. God knows how many other people, where if the protocol was, we like everybody to wear masks while we figure this out, I don't think it would have gotten as out of control as it did. So that's not saying Trump put
But Dr. Fauci,
but I'm saying he failed on the leadership portion of that with asking people to wear a mask.
But Dr. Fauci took the blame for that. He's the one who told everybody don't wear masks. Like you said, they told people that. Trump listened to them. Trump said, no, I'm not going to listen to y'all. Y'all wear masks. The experts said don't want you to wear a mask because remember they were worried people would be touching the mask. So I don't really understand how you can still point all of that to Trump besides to just say, well, we're all responsible because he's the president. So yes, he shares some accountability. But as this number of deaths keeps growing and people are looking at this whole number, oh, he's responsible. He has blood on his hands for 190K people. And I mean, I'm not giving him no pass. I'm just trying to have this intellectual debate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to say, oh, he's right. Oh, he's wrong. I'm just trying to say, like, how does that work? As this number keeps growing, how is he responsible for all of these deaths? People responsible of practicing, you know, the CDC guidelines. But someone else want to?
Jamal looks like.
Well, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the young lady. I don't know her name, but it is it's the young lady. I think she spoke at the Democratic National Convention. And her father was an avid Trump supporter, and he didn't wear a mask following Trump, and he ended up dying, catching COVID and dying. And now the Democrats are holding her up because she's telling this story about how her father was this avid Trump supporter, and he didn't wear a mask following Trump, and he ended up catching coronavirus. And supposedly, I don't agree or disagree. I'm not really big on the Democrats or the Republicans, but supposedly on his deathbed, he told his daughter that he wished he hadn't listened to Trump. And of course, that's the narrative. But I mean, and of course, you're saying it's a lot of different cases, and should he be held accountable for all of them? That's just one story of one person. But that's kind of, if you don't like Trump, that's going to be the narrative you support. And if you do like him, it's going to be a different story. So I'm on the fence, but I do understand, or I see that being a popular narrative.
The problem with this whole mask debate is that, and I talked about this a while ago, we're not really having real scientific discussions about masks and curbing the spread and whether masks are actually reducing the number of cases that are positive. These are not the discussions that the CDC is not having, World Health Organization didn't have. And the CDC experts tend to go against or contradict what they have on their websites, because when you talk about the number of deaths, they recently updated the provisional death counts. Only 6% of the total death counts have been COVID-only deaths. So we have, when you're talking about people who are not wearing masks and people who are protesting, we're having different discussions. We're talking about personal freedoms and liberty, and nowhere people are, usually the people who are ill wear the mask. And so this is the issue that a lot of people were having with mask wearing, is that you're making people who are not ill wear a mask, and you're contradicting what you have written with any other pandemic and what your science has stated on your website. So there's a lot of debates and questions regarding masks. There's no scientific evidence that it's reduced reduced the spread of the virus. It's protected people. There's a lot of science that questions that narrative. And so a lot of
Tasha, let's be fair because this is an airborne virus, right? So the proper mask should be the N95.
The proper mask,
right? So if you're going to wear, everything else is basically
useless,
right? But and everything else is basically just, you know. I mean, but it's something, you know what I'm saying? I mean, but it's something. So
it's something, but that's not enough of an argument.
I don't know.
Feel like I don't have the right to walk out the house or feel attacked. So the mask debate is a different issue that you see going on in America. You have people who are very delicate and very sensitive about constitutional freedoms and liberty. They've studied the history of pandemics and how, you know, leadership has protected their constitutional rights. And the narrative shouldn't be, if you don't wear a mask, you're a murderer, because the science don't say that. So we have to make sure that when we're talking about masks and we're talking about the virus, that we're really speaking from science and not our emotions. I know that, you know, everybody's afraid of the virus or catching it, but we don't do this in flu season. You understand? And flu season is deadlier because we only had to date 10,000 COVID only deaths. Every year you get 60,000 flu deaths. So we're not really having a scientific discussion when we're talking about this virus. We're having political and emotional discussions. So I'm not here to say yay or nay. I say follow the CDC guidelines. The CDC guidelines are guidelines. They're not laws. You can't make people wear a mask, and you can't tell people that it's going to reduce the spread, because the CDC themselves has not made that statement. There's no science that backs it.
I'm sure this is the first time we've been in this type of a situation. So I'm sure at the end of this, they'll be able to have the data readily available for us. I just believe that my personal belief is that it's too early for the data to be presented. However, you know, the problem isn't just Trump not saying wear a mask. It's that he encouraged rallies at governors, you know, at the capitals, to protest governors that instituted wearing masks. I'm not a Democrat. I made it very clear. I'm an independent. But I will tell you that I cannot disagree with the way, you know, Governor Whitmer has handled this pandemic. Yes, it was an inconvenience. It was a complete inconvenience wearing a mask. But knowing that people were asymptomatic and you can spread being asymptomatic, it's better be safe than sorry. So to say that you only want to read the science and follow the science, but the science isn't available because we have never dealt with this thing. And when the Spanish flu was out, they weren't wearing N95s. And this coronavirus is compared to the Spanish flu. It was never compared to H1N1. You're the first person that's brought that comparison to H1N1. So you can't really, so like Jamal said, apples and oranges. I get both sides of it. You're saying apples to apples, he's saying apples to oranges. But the news compares this to the Spanish flu. And back then, they didn't have the PPE that we have today. So you have to try something. And if the only thing you can try is protesting with guns at the state capitol, that doesn't help anybody.
Well, but the science and experts said it's okay to protest without a mask. So we have a conflict.
Social distancing, right?
No, but we got political issues. So nobody's using science because it's okay for people to be rioting and looting and protesting a few months ago with George Floyd death. Nobody mentioned masks, and they even said it. It's okay to protest. 100 people or more, 100 people can protest, and the experts said that was okay. But when 100 or more people rally for Trump, that wasn't okay. So we're not talking science. We're not talking science.
Well, clearly we watch different news stations because I saw they were talking about the protesters for George Floyd wearing masks, even downtown Detroit.
These people weren't wearing masks, and nobody in the news said it. They said they were peaceful. They're calling it peaceful when these people are throwing bricks in business buildings and they're not wearing a mask. CNN never covered the fact that these people who were protesting and rioting both were without masks for the most part.
And that's
never talked about that.
That's not fair because they would show peaceful demonstrations and then you would have I'm talking Detroit. I can't talk for any city but Detroit. Mm-hmm. And James Craig came on and said that they were arresting people that were inciting violence who were not from Detroit, who came here to start the riots. Mm-hmm. So, but the average demonstrator, and by the way, my husband was working downtown during the riots, and from his standpoint, most people had on masks. So I can't say that I agree with what you're saying. Whether it was covered or not, I can't say.
No,
I saw people that were down there involved in it who both indicated that most people were wearing a mask. And you had those sparking violence who were not from the city of Detroit, who were for the most part from Flint and Toledo areas, coming here to incite riots, to start violence, or throwing bricks at police officers, trying to create, the 1969 riots.
I'm talking about the experts. The experts in their advice was, as long as you're protesting, you don't pose a threat. COVID is not a threat. See, so we're talking about masks and we're talking about curbing the spread of the virus. We're not really talking science at this point, and it's been more of a political conversation than a scientific conversation.
Yeah, because the rules change. So go ahead, Jamal.
I don't like jumping in on people. I like to let people finish their points. So when you see me do one of these, what I was gonna say is the problem with what Tasha's saying. The problem with what Tasha's saying, and I do understand. I saw the hypocrisy. I looked at the TV and thought to myself, like, oh, COVID about to go crazy. It's 100,000 people in the middle of Britain protesting. But I will say this: the science takes time. So I think that was your valid gripe, Tasha. Like for them to come up with the science take time, and we didn't have time. We didn't have time to wait to see what the science told us to do. So we just had to figure out what we thought was the best method and go that way. I remember watching TV and they said, don't wear a mask, leave a mask for the professionals. And then they turned around and said, wear a mask. But all the damn masks was gone by then. People have bought up all the masks. Just so happened I was painting my basement, so I had packs of N95s. I was like, I'm Gucci. But I saw the hypocrisy, and I don't trust the CDC. So I'm not waiting on no science. I'm doing what I think is best, and that's just what it's going to be for me. Because like I said, it takes time. It might take. That's like the CDC could say. That the coronavirus vaccine is good tomorrow. I'm not. No, I'm doing what I think is best for me. So I'm gonna mask up and I'm gonna handle it that way. And when the science show what the science show, okay, that's cool. I'm gonna do what I think is best for me and mine.
But that speaks to your point. But you want the freedom to make that decision. You don't want somebody telling you, no, we said science and you're going to do what I say do. Right. So there's a difference. There's a difference between, and first of all, who said science takes time? Where do we get this from?
What do you mean? Where do we get this from? This is
Where do we
science.
get,
Science don't happen overnight. You got to do tests and back tests.
Yeah, but it don't have to take as much time as we think.
Well, I didn't say a particular set of time. I said it takes time. I didn't put no 2 week, 3 week. I didn't put no deadline on that.
Right,
I just said it takes time.
But that because science takes time doesn't mean you contradict policies and you take science out and then you want to restrict people because you don't want to be restricted. You want to say, I want to wait and see. You want that personal freedom. And the person who understands science, understands viruses, they also want the personal freedom to decide whether they want to wear a mask because as a healthcare professional and science backs what I'm saying, you also lose oxygen. And there's a lot of risk wearing masks for long periods of time too. So I want the same personal freedoms that the Constitution grants, not to make somebody say, well, science takes time and you're going to do what I say do until it's backed by science. That's incorrect. And that's my point to all this.
But okay, my problem. You don't address a mask. So when people talk about nothing in the Constitution addresses the mask.
Restricting personal freedoms. If you don't have science, if you don't have a political or safety goal, you can't make people wear a mask if you don't have science.
So you don't wear a mask?
I wear a mask when I feel like it. Yeah, absolutely. I don't. If I have to go to an establishment that requires a mask, I'm not going, and it's my right.
Okay,
it's my right. And
no, that is your right. But hypothetically,
there's a lot of people are like that. So it's not nobody's right to lock me up because it's a guideline. It's not a law. It wasn't signed into law that as American citizens since the pandemic.
That is true. That is true.
You have to wear the mask. It's not a law. It's a guideline.
It's a fine in the state of Michigan, $300. So.
And but that's a different conversation about your governor.
Well, hypothetically speaking, I mean,
right. Go ahead, finish.
No, I was just gonna say, like,
Jamal, you cutting off.
I was just gonna say, so if you don't wear a mask and you go to Myers, and you shopping in aisle 3 and nobody say nothing or nobody kick you out, they just let you go without your mask, and then they come back and say, we got, like, I won't even use that example. I'll use this example: floods. It wasn't floods. It was yesterday's. Yesterday's traced back, and they had like 40 people that end up with COVID from yesterday's. And I had a relative that ended up dying, unfortunately, from that event. Now, that was before the whole mask mandate. But you saying it's your social liberty to decide not to wear a mask, but you got to think about the other people.
No,
you got to think about the other people.
My personal freedoms. I'm going to social distance and follow. CDC says social distance first. It didn't say mask first. It says try to be in groups of 10 or less. Wash your hands. Keep your surfaces clean, 6 feet apart. The purpose of social distancing is so that you don't have to use a mask.
So you don't feel it's your social responsibility to protect your fellow man?
It's my social responsibility to follow CDC guidelines, and that's what I'm doing. So
CDC guidelines don't say wear a mask?
It says you can wear a mask if you think you're infected. It says the primary means of reducing the curve is cleanliness, washing your hands, keeping your surfaces clean, and being 6 feet apart from people. That is going to reduce the spread of the virus. There's no science that backs wearing a surgical mask that has gaps where the virus creeps in and you want to touch it. There's no science that says doing that is going to curb the spread. And the CDC knows that because on their website, they tell you that. So they give you guidelines to curbing the spread. And I follow every guideline. I go places, I social distance.
So the Chinese have been wearing a mask forever.
I'm sorry?
The Chinese
All
have.
right. Let's
And they're a communist country. You want to be in a communist country?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
I was saying that
let's move on from this topic.
their methods.
Okay, let's move on from this topic. I want to get into Kamala Harris, okay? Kamala Harris. Oops, I pronounced her name wrong. Okay, so Kamala Harris, she was placed, right, because Maxine, she wanted Joe Biden to have a black woman, to run as his VP. So what are your thoughts of Kamala? Like, does she do anything to, is it hurting? Is it going to hurt Joe Biden? I don't know if you know Dr. Boyce Watkins, but he has a huge following, and he did a survey, and most of his people, they don't trust Kamala. And he has a lot of, his whole thing is B1, so black first. So that's his whole position, his platform, to black people, to talk to black people. So when he puts this survey out there, it was to black people. And so that's pretty significant, his huge following overall. He did a YouTube, so all the receipts are there, and he said that people just not feeling Kamala. So let's talk a little bit about that.
I wasn't feeling her.
About Kamala.
I'm gonna tell you the truth, though. She feeling her. I wasn't feeling her, but she qualified, so I'm not gonna hate. That's all. That's really what it is.
She's not black, so she actually don't qualify.
Well, you know what? But I felt like that for a while. But when she tells you that she was her parents raised her as an African American, and the reality is in the United States, and you got 1%, that's what they classify you as.
You don't have 1% though.
Well, actually, Jamaicans were slaves.
How can she be raised?
She's not. She's
American. How can she be raised by African American by Jamaican?
No.
Listen. How come she never?
She was raised in Canada.
How come she never has any pictures of her father? Listen. Where is her father? She doesn't have any pictures. You never see them together. Like, where is her father? She's claiming she's black. She's claiming she's black. She's claiming Jamaican. But where is her father? We never.
Actually, her father
is Jamaican. Her mother is East Indian.
Her father's Indian, and he's from Jamaica. So he's not black. There's no African lineage.
There's no Jamaican lineage, because Jamaican
is not a race. Jamaican is an island.
But I'm saying that all of the islands were infiltrated with slavery.
Yeah, but they got Indians and Chinese and different people, different cultures.
Yes.
He's Indian. So he's an Indian, and she comes from a slave-owning family. There's nothing African. Black, see, black means African heritage. It doesn't mean Indian heritage.
So you're saying that he's West, we know her dad is West Indian, or are you saying that he's East Indian and migrated to West India?
Yeah, exactly. He's from Jamaica as a national,
right?
Jamaican national, but ethnically he's Asian, just like the mother is.
Oh, see, I didn't know that because he looks.
And he spoke out against Kamala. That's why you won't mention. That's why they won't show the father, because when she start pandering to black people, he actually yeah.
So then, why did they raise her that she was African American?
Because because they need 9 out of 10 African American votes to win a presidential campaign.
No, I'm talking, but that doesn't have anything to do with her parents raising her.
Well, she was raised in Canada. She didn't move to America until she went to college. So she didn't come to America to college.
That can't be true. She was from California. She went to school in California.
She was raised in Canada. She was raised in Canada.
She cannot qualify as vice president unless she's American born.
She's raised in Canada.
It's the Birther Act with Obama. She cannot be the VP unless she is of American born.
She was raised in Canada.
That don't mean that she was born in America and she went to school in California.
But
that lady black. That lady black.
Wants receipts on what she did.
Yeah, and they wanted receipts on Obama too.
That lady black. That lady black.
Yeah, somebody is questioning you, saying slave owning family.
Her fifth grandfather Largest plantation in Jamaica. Look him up. What's his name? I had this information. I'll have to find it.
You looked up Obama too?
You can't because Obama wrote an executive order to seal his records when he came into office.
Well, Obama loaded.
I'm not a Kamala fan, but that lady black.
What makes her black?
She identified.
Look.
Yeah, but based on the American federal identification,
she's a person of color.
Yeah, she's a person of color. No, that's simple enough.
She identifies.
People of color are not identifying as black.
She identified.
Okay, what did she ask about?
When did she ever identify as black before the election?
She always has.
No, she was sworn in and she was sworn as the first Indian American.
I'm with you.
That's propaganda. That's propaganda. That's propaganda.
She called herself an American. She said, I'm American. She said, I'm American.
East Indian is going to Howard. And back then, let's keep it real.
Y'all act like people from other ethnic groups can't infiltrate black societies. Like
that's it.
That lady black. I'm with you, Chris. That lady black.
That she locked black men up in record numbers in California.
Okay, we could talk about that. But she's
not black according to the racial categories. She's not black according to racial categories.
I mean, if you want to pull up her,
you identify her as black, just like
I felt the same way.
According to the black category, she's not black. She's from Indian Asian heritage. That does not make
obviously, we need her Howard application to see what box she checked off.
Going to an HBCU doesn't make you black.
I said what box she checked off on her application.
Her birth certificate says Caucasian.
Okay, if she's born, if both
her
of her
parents are Caucasian.
If both of her parents are East Indian, Indians are the original Caucasians from the Caucasus Mountains.
Her birth certificate
is African. If she checked off African American going to college, she checked off African American when she applied to the project. If she checked off African American, she chose to identify as a black.
And if you're black and you're going to vote her in office, you deserve anything you get. Just that's not a very logical, constructive, plausible reason to say somebody is black. You just had this white Jewish woman who poses black her whole life, and she's been ousted. She's written books on slavery. She's written books on the diaspora. So just because somebody infiltrates your community and they identify you identify them as black, it doesn't make them black, and that's why the Democrats have been able to subjugate black people in the inner cities, because our own logic is, well, she went to Howard, she was raised in a black neighborhood, so she's black. We can't do that in any other ethnic group. This is why we look crazy every election season.
Okay, so if she commit a crime, or if she get a ticket, or if she's running down the street, or if she's running down the street and somebody trying to identify her, they're gonna look at her and say, it's a half Indian Jamaican woman running down the street, or they're gonna say a white woman or a black woman or a yellow woman or a purple woman. We're not talking about how she identified. We're talking about how other people identify her.
But you're not,
that woman is black.
That's what we're not supposed to do. We are not supposed to identify. We got to go by the racial categories and the political designation with race. When you designate yourself as Caucasian, you are politically making yourself white. She's white when it was convenient all her life until she started running for vice president. See, before all this, California, San Francisco, she was never a black woman. And her father called her out on that. Her own father.
So is her husband a white man? Is she not a white woman? Is she not a black woman married to a white man? Because
she's a woman of color. We call her what she is. She's not. She is called.
But it's more than. Woman of color can mean several different things. I don't disagree with woman of color.
Listen, okay, I don't want to have no debate on her nationality. I would have debate on what does she bring to the Democratic, because everybody is talking about the black vote, right? People who want Trump out of office. So they're telling all the black people, we got to vote Trump out. We got to vote Trump out of office. We got to vote Biden. And Kamala, I keep pronouncing her name wrong, sorry, but Kamala was put into place to get these people to help vote Trump out. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how important the black vote is in this election to both candidates, to both Biden and Trump. Trump has a very strong and successful, he has the whole Blacks for campaign. He has several different black influencers. I mean, they're going hard. They've been doing this since day one, just hard after Trump, exposing so many things. Biden doesn't have that though. He doesn't have that whole, support. So I mean, what should be his strategy? What should he be doing? We're down to what, like 50 days or something until the election. What does Biden need to do? Is just having Kamala on his team enough? What's going to get people to vote Biden?
I think
because you guys are independent, right? I know Tasha,
I think Kamala's a
Republican, but you guys are independent. Well,
I think she's a campaigner, personally, and qualifications are not as strong as the ability to campaign. If you have somebody that can go door to door, then that person is going to win regardless of their record and qualifications. At the end of the day, she is paper qualified. And number two, I think she's going to be a great campaigner.
Kamala was put on the ticket to raise money. That's what she was put on the ticket for. Biden already has the never Trumpers. I think that picking Kamala, I'm sorry to say it, but I think it was the worst move he could have made. Because it's just not us. It's just not us. You got to take yourself out of your own perspective and look at black people are only 14% of the population. White people, 54%. Trump ran a whole campaign geared to white people. He said, I don't need no black votes. If I win the largest percentage of 54% white people, I'll be the president. And he's going to do the same thing. Biden already had the never Trumpers. He didn't have to pick a black woman to do that. Nobody is excited about Biden. The three reasons that people support Biden is because they never Trump. He was cool with Obama, and because somebody else endorsed him. No, that's not enough meat and potatoes for nobody to win, especially not a senile dude like him. I don't like Trump, but I do think that Trump is going to be back in office because the Democratic Party screwed the people again and picked who they wanted to see run instead of who should have been running. I thought that they learned a lesson in 2016 with Hillary Clinton. They didn't, and it's going to happen again.
So who do you feel should have been the VP?
I think, well, let me go back to this. I think that what happened was, I think that he was trying to get past Bernie. He wasn't about to get past Bernie. So what he did was he stuck his foot in his mouth and he said, I'm going to pick a woman, because he was trying to get progressives on his side. The woman that he was going to pick was going to be Amy Klobuchar. But then everything happened with Minnesota and George Floyd. Right. And people started finding out that she didn't prosecute the cop. And that made her politically done. So then I think then it became a race, and you see how long it took him to pick Kamala. But I think then he was gonna pick who he doesn't like. Nobody left.
Well, he talked to Big Gretch several times, from my understanding.
Well, he did, but Big Gretch. But out of the people that he had left, it was Stacey Abrams. It was Elizabeth Warren. Him and Elizabeth Warren hate each other. It was Kamala. It was Gretchen, like you said, and did I say Stacey Abrams?
Yeah, but so political experience.
And then Amy Klobuchar threw Elizabeth Warren under the bus. She said, "I think he should pick a woman of color." That's how we get here. So then it take him months and months and months to pick Kamala. Now he picked Kamala, and everybody start Googling Kamala and finding out about her past. And they find out about Kevin Cooper and all the people that she let get executed on her watch. And now you in this spot. On top of the fact that we didn't even talk about, Biden is 78 years old. He's going to be the oldest president. If elected, he'd be the oldest president on his first day. He'd be older than Ronald Reagan was on his last day. So now this, we're all black people, or we all identify as black, Tasha. I'm sorry. But if if you got a room full of white people and you told these white people, yo, Biden, you vote for Biden, and if Biden fall in the snow or have a heart attack on the first day, boom, all of a sudden Kamala Harris is the president. You got and her sorority sister's gonna be all on the stage dance. They're not voting for that at all. I don't see it, and thank the Democratic Party for that.
But like you said, Kamala gonna bring the money,
right?
So.
Yeah. Is she really bringing money?
Okay, so let's
probably so.
Oh, she bringing money.
She bringing money.
Okay,
she bringing money.
Let's talk about Trump and you know what he needs to do, what he can offer, what he can offer voters. Let's talk about Trump. Tasha, since you're a Republican, I'm gonna let you lead that.
Trump is I think that his campaign strategy has been perfect to date. He's focusing more on the black vote, but he actually did stuff for black people, even though he only got 8% of the black vote. So he's just going to do more, and he's going to get more black people voting for him. The thing is, the Democrats, they have to have 9 out of 10 black votes. That's the only way they can win the presidential election. So they lost that they're not going to get 9 out of 10 black votes. Hillary only got 8 out of 10, and she got the most popular vote. So
when Hillary did, excuse me, but when Hillary lost to Obama in 2008, the Democrat Party should have said your time is your opportunity. I'm serious. Obama was a no name.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity, just the ship left in 2008.
It did.
But I will say something about Hillary. Hillary was real nasty to Obama, and it's funny that people, if Trump said, I'm not a Trump supporter, but if Trump said half of the stuff that Hillary said about Obama, people would have a lot more disdain for Trump. I think that one of the things that make me laugh personally is I see people on Facebook, on your page, Charmaine, a lot too, that get mad at people's opinion, and they want to block you and don't be your friend no more and call you all kind of names. But people don't realize that a lot of these, I
get that all day, every day. Thank you.
And people don't realize that a lot of these politicians buddy. Like if when I just said that Kamala's bringing the money, that's because of what happened with her and West One Bank, where she didn't prosecute Steve Mnuchin, but Steve Mnuchin is Trump Treasury president. You know what I'm saying? But and also George Soros. Right. So they all had a bank that they got money together with, and they gave her money. So now, how you gonna expect her? Now she's gonna jump on the stage and say nasty things about him. Hillary and Trump, they was buddy before this. Trump used to be a Republican. Trump used to be a Democrat. Hillary used to be a Republican. So it's like they switch seats and switch viewpoints, and they have us mad at each other.
Wait, hold on. When was Trump ever a Democrat? Because I saw a video of him long time ago. Right. Where was this Larry somebody? Real famous journalist, Larry something. Help me out. Y'all know who I'm talking about? Larry King. Yeah. And this was probably like 20 years ago. And Trump said he was a Republican. So when people saying that Trump was a Democrat, where did they get that from? Where are you getting that from?
He was a Democrat.
Did Trump say he was a Democrat? Because on that,
he said that if I ran, I would run on the Republican ticket, though. So he identified as a Democrat. He said, but I will run on the Republican ticket. So
he gave Hillary money. He gave all of them money. That's why nobody. the one thing that I respect about Trump is that the Democratic Party didn't do what the Republican Party did. The Republican Party saw Trump start running away from the opponents, and they didn't want him to win. But they said, we got to get behind him because he's going to win. The Democrats did the exact opposite. They saw Bernie running away, and they said, oh, shit, we got to jack this up. We got to cut this because he's about to win, and he's not even a Democrat. So the two did opposite things, and that's what made Trump. What I tell people when people don't understand it, and I'm sure some of the comments, people not gonna like this, but Trump is to a lot of people what Obama was to a lot of people. Obama could do no wrong regardless of what he did, and Trump can't do no wrong regardless of what he do to some of his fan base. You can say Trump did a lot of good and a lot of bad. You can say Obama did a lot of bad and good. And we can debate all day back and forth. You find somebody that love Trump, you ain't gonna tell them they did nothing wrong. You find somebody that love Obama, you ain't gonna tell them they did nothing wrong. So potato.
Yeah. But the thing is, black people, we were worshiping Obama. We didn't hold him accountable to anything. We didn't know his stance on things, but we still gave him a lot of praise. And that's not the case with Trump. Trump's following has been following him since a very long time. And most of the people who voted him in office, they wanted him to be president back in the 80s. He's always had political opinions about foreign policy. And so he's had a large following over a long span of time. So yeah, these people have been wanting him to be president for a very long time.
I disagree with that. Trump did run in the 80s, but he ran
yeah,
as
he dropped. Yeah, he had times where he said he was going to run, but what I'm saying is, people, we like him. Trump's following. I can speak because I'm a follower. We followed him since the 80s and 90s, right? We paid attention to what he said about America. So when he finally ran, I didn't vote for him in office. I was surprised he won. So I wasn't one of the people who wanted him to be a president. But when I did research and stuff, he joined Twitter back in 2013 when it first came on board. And his following apparently has always been saying, we want you to run for president. We want you to run for president. You'll be good on a Republican ticket. So it's a different Obama followers. He's black. He's a president. He didn't do nothing for us, and he can do no wrong. That's a little bit different than people saying this man has always been against OPEC and NATO. He said he was going to do things if he ever became president, and he did it. So those kind of two different following.
I expect you to say that because you're a Trump supporter. However, I mean, when Trump first ran in the 80s, it was just a political stunt. It wasn't even something serious. A lot of people didn't think. A lot of people thought because when he announced he was running in the 80s, his book went through the roof. And when he got ready to run this time, a lot of people thought it was a political ploy. But however, what I will say is that a lot of the stuff that Trump says, his fans love it, and it doesn't matter. Like Trump can say something and people take it for face value and they don't do research. When Trump ran the first time, he ran his campaign to a lot of smart suburban people. When he ran the second time, it was because of animosity from 8 years of a black president. So he dumbed it down a little bit and ran to the poor whites that felt disenfranchised by having a black president for 8 years. Because people would talk to me, and every time I would hear people say they didn't like Obama, I'd always say, well, why? And they could never give me a legitimate answer. And I knew the answer because you had a black president for 8 years that you didn't want. I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about others, as you refer to them as. And I would always ask them, well, what don't you like about Obama? They never could tell me. And I knew the answer. We both knew the answer. Maybe they would say, well, I don't like Obamacare. And I say, okay, explain what you don't like about Obamacare. And, you know, when you ask a person 4 or 5 questions and they don't have no answers, then it becomes easy to see. So that's what I would do. And Trump took all of that hostility.
So you're saying 62 million people who voted for him are not smart people?
No, I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth. I said he changed his message. And he changed it a little bit. If you listen to Trump message was all about immigration. It was all about immigration because what's happening, if you look at the census numbers, is they're already estimating that in the next in the next 10 years, white people not going to be the majority anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The Mexican population is already at 18%.
That's true.
The black population is at 14%. We right up under them now. The Mexicans, a lot of people make this assumption that it's more black people and Mexicans than it is white people, but that's not true. However, we're surrounded by countries with Latina people, Hispanic people, and they are coming here. And Trump said, I'm about to stop it because they're going to take over. They're going to be the majority. Let me tell you something. If I was a white person, the scariest thing that I wouldn't want to see is me being a minority. Me going from being a majority, we run this shit, to now we got to go along with whatever the black people say. So I would vote for Trump too if I was white. I'd be like, what did he say?
So you
Now
people
say, because we still be 14%.
So the Democrat, well, you're at 14% because of abortion, sweetheart, and murders that Democrats don't like to solve. You're at 14. We're not even at 14%. So we're always at that percentage because of Democratic policies that affect our livelihood. It's not illegal don't solve that problem.
That's a whole
no, but you guys,
that's a whole nother topic.
No,
I didn't say that.
You said his immigration policies are motivated by him being afraid of being in the minority as a white person.
Yeah.
But that's based off of poor Democratic policies letting illegal criminals who traffic drugs.
No. That's based off of, if a black person have a baby with a white person, just like we was talking about Kamala, you just said, what is Kamala? Kamala's not white, though. Whatever you want to call her. Kamala's not white. That's based off the fact that first of all, white women have been having children in decline since the 50s. That's why the whole Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood thing came into play. Because
no. She came in to exterminate blacks. Where you get that from?
Listen to what I'm saying. White people white women weren't having babies at the cliff of black people and other people. It was a whole campaign to get white women to have more babies because they knew years and years and years ago that eventually the black population or the other population was gonna catch up and become the majority. And they know that that's coming. They saying that's like 2028. That's in the next couple years. Black people don't fill out the census, which is another conversation. So, we could be now, but for the numbers, that's what I think his campaign was rooted in.
But he had a nice diverting voting electorate compared to the Democratic electorate. The Democrats, in order to win any presidential election, they had to have 9 out of 10 black votes. They only get 3 out of 10 white votes. They got to have blacks and Latinos and other. They can't win with white votes. The Democratic Party has to have
explain what you mean 9 out of 10.
90% of the black electorate has to vote the Democratic Party for them to win a presidential office.
Well, that's not what Jamal said. What Jamal said was the campaign was ran on fear of whites becoming minorities. So you're talking about,
but his electorate is more diverse than the Democratic electorate.
But
the Democrats is mostly black and mostly Mexican.
That's still not
white men, black men, white women, black women, Asians. He had even though they were small numbers, he didn't have 80% white people. He had
no.
people.
No.
The
If you look at
need all of black people to vote.
Tasha, exit polls.
So who is really
exit polls. Hillary Clinton won black women. We knew that was going to happen. Black people vote Democrat by default. Hillary Clinton won black men. Hillary Clinton won black men. Hillary Clinton won Mexicans, both male and female.
All the people she destroyed through policy.
Listen. She won both. Only demographic Donald Trump won was white. He won the white man and the white female.
No, it was Asian. He got 8% of the black electorate. He got like 20-some% of Asians. He got a nice, diverse. He didn't need all of anything.
Yeah, it was a mixture. It was 38%. It was a mixture. It was 38%.
Asians are 1%.
Yeah, it was 38%.
Asians are 1%.
But still, he got 38% of them.
Asians are 1% of the population of this country.
Of the Latino electorate.
At the end of the day, what Jamal said,
white and like 10% of black.
And just like the RNC, it was them versus us. So, and I think that was Jamal.
Your logic is flawed because you have Hillary Clinton, who's a white woman, wanting all black and minority votes. So why isn't she not threatened? What
no, she didn't
win. No, I don't disagree with your logic. I thought, and I think the DNC thought that Hillary Clinton would get white women votes. Because you know what was funny? What was the hilarious thing to me? I'm sure y'all saw it. Was the day after Trump was elected, it was a women's march, and there was a lot of white women out there marching for the women's march, and it was a sister that had a sign that said, "White women elected Donald Trump." Did y'all see that picture?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
yeah,
that's what he won. He put all his cards on white. Like they say at the casino, he put all his marbles on white and won. And that's
put all his marbles in white. We put all our eggs in one basket. You see,
we ain't. I'm not.
I just keep voting Democrats. You're saying
I see.
So that argument is gone.
Who did y'all vote for in the last two elections? Did you vote?
Republican. I can tell you, my first election in high school was Dukakis and Bush. I learned then, look at the candidate. You don't go vote party, you look at the candidate. Because I asked my grandmother, she said, black people vote Democratic. I go to my dad, tell my dad what she said. He said, that's not true. And that from that day forth, my father started educating me on candidates. So I put money where my mouth is, and I vote for the candidate.
What about policy?
Oh, absolutely. But candidate and policy go hand in hand. That's why I said, I never said.
If that's the case, why did we vote Obama? Because he didn't promise us nothing. He didn't court us. He was just black. So why did we vote Obama if policy and candidate go hand in hand? Because he ain't do nothing for us.
I see how
put Obama in office.
I see how you changed the conversation, Tasha. I see what you did.
No, you have your own logic saying that he ran on them versus us, and I can't argue that because that's your opinion. And it is only grounded in your opinion. His exit polls show something a little bit different. So you're making a blanket generalization on white America, and I can't engage in that because I don't engage in identity and race politics like that.
I get it. I understand that.
Listen, everyone, because we're running out of time here. So, since the whole theme is get out the vote, I want to end this. I want you all to, tell the viewers and listeners out here who they should vote for, or how they should vote, because I get that question all the time. They be like, well, we don't want Trump and we don't want Biden. So who are we supposed to vote for then? What are we supposed to do? I mean, personally, I feel like people should vote their conscience. Like if you feel like the two-party system isn't for you, you don't like each candidate. I mean, at the end of the day, which candidate policies address your needs? You know what I'm saying? If Trump's policies address your needs, then guess what? You're voting for Trump. Biden's policies address your needs, then vote for Biden. Or, if you don't want to vote for any, it's your right too. You shouldn't be shamed for that. And Ice Cube did a great message because he let everybody on his platform know, like, look, stop living this. Our ancestors died for the right for you to vote. That is not true. Nobody went outside and said, okay, kill me so everybody who comes after me can vote. It was not like that, and I mean, there's a lot of voter shaming going on. Black people can't even feel free to be conservative because it's like, oh, you get called a coon, you a sellout, you supporting Trump, he's racist. You know what I'm saying? It's just so much stuff going out here. And I always tell people, vote. It's important to vote because things change when we vote. That's your right. You have a right to vote, and you should be proud of whoever it is you vote for. So definitely vote. feel like, oh, it's not going to change anything, or I don't like any of the candidates, well, then don't vote. But don't feel like you have to vote. What I will say, the most stupid thing you can do is just vote just to vote. Oh, I'm voting Trump out. I don't want Biden, but I don't want Trump either. So I'm just gonna vote. I mean, that's stupid. So let's just end this by educating. We'll go through everybody and just educating, provide some voter education, what they should do, how they should vote, all that stuff.
Okay, let me go. Okay, first of all, you can't vote anyone out of office because our founding fathers created what's called the Electoral College for that reason. So what you have to realize is that when you're voting in November, you're voting for your state electors who's supposed to vote for the candidate of your choice, right? So that's number one. You can't vote Trump out. You can't vote Biden out. You can't do it. So it's electorally impossible to think that because I'm giving a vote to Biden is going to get Trump out. That's not how our election process works. Number one. Number two, you need to look at the record. You need to look at what Biden has done, what the Democratic Party has done policy-wise. Have you advanced as under Democratic policies and progressive policies? And you have to look at what are conservative policies. What does it mean to have liberal? What does each platform stand for? So if I vote for Biden or a Democratic ticket, what value systems am I pushing forward for my household and my family? And most Black people who vote, supposedly Christians, according to the polls, first and foremost, if you're part of any religion, you're supposed to follow the instructions of that religion and the values of that religion. You're not supposed to do something that goes against your religious values. So your policies have to be as close to your values as possible, not the personality, not the candidate, because you can go to work with a racist boss, you still gonna get a check, you still gonna get benefits, you still gonna get PTO. Right. So we're not going to vote the candidate because at the end of the day, we've all lived and had leaders who we didn't like, but they made sure that we were provided for. So racism can't be the reason why you're voting somebody in or out of office. It got to be the policies.
All right. Well, I'll just
That's awesome.
It is. How I choose to vote is I take the things that are most important to me. So, like you said, the policies. What policies are most important for me? Someone's policies may be their stocks, their bonds. Mm-hmm. Someone's policy may be a particular industry. So you need to take the things that are most important to you and put them in order, like top 5 things. And then you go between the two candidates and see where each of those candidates stand on your top 5 concerns.
Good. So. Mm-hmm. Very good. Yes.
That's good. That's good. That's good, Jamal.
I'm complicated on this one. Your people gonna be mad at me on this one. Let me. I'll say this.
Go ahead.
In 2016, that was the first time I didn't vote. People think that you're ignorant if you don't vote. Mm-hmm. You're uninformed. You're this, you're that. Yeah. But let me tell you something. This country is built on protest. Mm-hmm. Protesting is one of the most American things you can do until you talk about protesting a vote. Now, let me tell you what's funny.
Oh my God!
I love it.
Now let me tell you.
Good.
Let me tell you what I think is odd. What I think is odd is that white people, just like you said, Artesia, my grandmother told me as a kid, the first time I voted, she said, "Oh, we Black, we Democrats." And as I got older, that bothered me because I wanted to know why Black people voted Democrats, right? By default, because I feel like white people have the option to toggle. Hillary Clinton don't like something the Republicans done, she could become a Democrat. If you're disenfranchised with the Republicans, you can vote Democrat, and vice versa. They had a power to switch. That's what allows them to have power. They say, "Oh, I'm not voting for you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna be a +1 on the other side." We don't do that. The only option we have, I'm not gonna go vote for Trump. Sorry, Tasha. I ain't gonna go vote for Trump, but either I can vote Democrat or I can protest. and let the Democrats know you're not getting my vote until you do something that I like. Thus far, let's talk about, like Artesia said, the opinions, the policies, the issues that are important to me. Joe Biden and Donald Trump aren't too much different on them. So until Joe Biden does something for me, I'm not really worried about getting Trump out, because I feel like what Trump is doing is he's holding a mirror up to the country and he's making us deal with who we really are. We do have this much racism. When people say Trump's inspiring racism, no, this is our country. This been our country. This was our country under Obama. Obama just covered it up with nice speeches and we got over it the next day. This been Americans.
Yeah.
So if it got to take me another 4 years of Trump for black people to fin together and say we got to do better, or for the Democratic Party to say, let me stop playing with people like the Republicans did, I'm cool with that either way. Because at the end it's a famous quote by a guy who says, my road gonna be a dirt road regardless of who in office.
Awesome. I love it.
I know that's right. And like you said, the Democratic Party, they listen, they had 20-something candidates. None of those people, like, come on, like, y'all had all this time to groom somebody, and then here y'all give us this. Y'all give us Biden and Kamala, like, on, seriously, and you expect us to just go vote them out. You know, I promise. I know people in, like, I've even had people say, people that's gonna make sure that Biden does what he needs. Get us, no, skip that. Like, I'm not voting for an aspiration on a hope. Like, okay, well, hopefully, no, skip that. I don't see him doing nothing now. Biden, does he have a campaign office in Michigan? No. You know what I'm saying? Like what is he doing now to address needs? So no, you're not going to force me to vote for Biden. Just, I'm putting that out there because I'm so tired of people just, you know, get mad at me. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I'm voting by conscience. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's an independent candidate or whether I don't vote or whatever, who knows what I'm going to do on November 3rd. But I just know that allow people to, like, that's voter suppression. When you kind of make people, you know, vote for somebody and they don't want to vote for that person, like, you can't do that. So my final thing is, you know, vote your conscience, do your research, you know, match up the policies with what meets your needs and go from there, you know. And if you feel like Jamal, like, not gonna vote unless the Democrats, then hey, you know what I'm saying?
Abstention is a right.
That's your right. Nobody should feel forced.
Let me say something too. Let me say something to your point. I forgot to say. I think that we need to get to the point where we understand that they gotta work for your vote. Nobody should get your vote by default. Like they say in this country that your vote is your voice. Nobody should just get your vote by default. Like, if they're not working for your vote, if they're not actively pursuing your vote, then why are we giving it to them? I gotta go. Is it for a sticker? Like, what we giving them our vote for if they're not giving us nothing?
And if they've not done anything for you in the past 50 years since they've been running your cities and running your localities, you got to go by their record. Because if Biden has a record, what makes you think he's going to switch it up at 78? If he expanding prisons for the past 30 years, what makes you think he's not going to expand prison in the next 10 years or as long as he can?
Democrats better stop playing with me. They better start better start letting the people choose and quit playing, because they not gonna get none of my votes. I'm gonna be looking real stupid because I ain't gonna have no sticker to post. I'm not voting Republican, but I'm not playing this game with the Democrats neither. Like, they better tag somebody, tag the DNC in this, because they need to know. Obviously, you know. Let me say something else. I'm gonna let you go. I know you got to end it. I saw Kamala. I saw two things today that perturbed me. I saw Kamala dancing the WAP that her campaign manager posted, and I saw.
Are you serious?
And I saw I was looking at clips of Roland Martin, and I saw Roland Martin, and I respect Roland Martin, but I saw Roland Martin ask Hillary Clinton, "Can you wobble? You ain't gonna get the black vote if you can't wobble." I'm like, man, if y'all don't quit playing, y'all ain't never get my vote.
But apparently it works for some, and we got to stop. That got to stop. Like, that's an insult to our intelligence, and we should be insulted when all people can do is talk about hot sauce in their purse, go to black clothes stores, when they have a record of destroying us. We got to stop with that. Why should you vote?
Go ahead, Chris.
Fall in love, GOP. Exactly. I like that, Christopher. Thank you.
Yes. Chris has been hilarious. They've been loving you. They've been loving you, Jamal. Jamal, you definitely won this debate. I mean, it's not a winner thing, but everybody has been agreeing with Jamal hands down. I don't know what it is, but that's so kudos to you tonight. Thank you everybody for watching and listening to us. I love all of my viewers. I thank all of you. Appreciate you sharing the video.
Artesia.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Everybody.